against the wall. But you are a strong person, so baby keep moving on. Don't let nobody stop you, honey. So look up your plans and just stand tall. You will stay.
Hello everyone, welcome to another video here at LAVI Program. I'm Lavender, I'm your virtual life coach, and here on this channel, we are manifesting realities, one change at a time. I'm doing a late night video, y'all, so I wanted to try to put more content out there for individuals, again, that are interested in certain topics or just a different variation of topics that might be able to help individuals with independent things that they may be going through, personal things that they may be going through. So today's video is actually focusing on emotional independence and emotionally unavailable people. So what really prompted me to do a post about this one, a video about this topic, basically surrounds the fact that this is a term that's been going around, it seems like a lot frequently now. So I wanted to kind of go further in depth into it and try to give a little more insight into really what emotional independence and emotional availability is. Because I think that it's something that sometimes is just thrown out there without real context or full understanding behind it, kind of like how people throw around the word narcissist. When everyone shares some kind of narcissistic tendencies, it does not necessarily mean that they are indeed a narcissist. So, yes. All right, y'all. Okay, so let's get into the video. So what is emotional independence? Emotional independence is the ability to manage and regulate one's emotions without overly being dependent on others for validation, support, or approval. It's about cultivating self-awareness, self-reliance, and resilience in facing life's challenges. So some examples of emotional independence could be not relying on others to affirm your beauty or your fashion or attire trend interest, your life's purpose, or direct worth. So, not basically needing someone else to kind of define who you are. You having the ability to do that on your own. Another example could be taking accountability for your reaction when feeling distraught, and remaining self-aware of how you respond without blaming or judging others for it. I mean, of course, we know that there are definitely external factors or triggers that may have some type of cause and effect situation. But at the end of the day, we're still responsible about, how we respond. And this one is talking about your emotional response to these type of things. Another example is not placing emotional burdens on others to heal or improve your emotional state. So, definitely being able to make sure that you can express yourself to people, but not making them fully or solely responsible for fixing you or supporting or helping you change and improve things. That it's not really their responsibility to get that done. That's yours. So not putting that burden on them emotionally, any type of emotional burden or weight. Next example is discovering and maintaining one's own self-worth without requiring the approval or validation of others in order to justify or affirm one's perspective of self. So basically just being able to be confident in who you are, being able to be confident that if you are someone who's described as overly sensitive or somebody who maybe does not have interest in certain things, kind of being adamant about who you are, your likes, your interests, what you do, what you don't do, knowing who you are and representing that unapologetically to the fullest. The last example I have here is not permitting hardships and unforeseen circumstances to steer your state of being or behavioral output. So not crashing out all because you're going through an emotionally distraught situation. It's okay to feel, but how you react, how you respond while feeling that, or after encountering some type of situation, that's really something that's great to be aware of, so that way you can better mitigate and manage and regulate yourself when you run into those type of incidents that might throw you off your game a little bit, or kind of take you off your usual baseline in some way. So, some discussions regarding emotional independence. So, the first discussion I have here is, are you emotionally independent or dependent? And I think that it's great to kind of ask ourselves that and really have some self-reflection about, when it comes to our emotions, do we kind of lean on others to, make us feel better, or in order to brighten up our day? Or is it something where we can, healthily acknowledge that this is how we feel, but at the same time, I can't let it navigate my entire life moving forward, or I can't allow it to steer me in certain ways throughout the remainder of my day, because I still got stuff to do, even though I'm feeling some kind of way. It's acknowledging that, I'm okay with feeling how I'm feeling. I can feel this, but I don't have to stay here, and I don't have to allow myself to allow this emotional situation or this emotional impact to really disrupt the rest of my life or the rest of my day. So the second discussion is, how does this influence how you see yourself? So, personally speaking, I would think that I'm someone who's emotionally independent, and to a fault. Definitely to a fault. Life experiences have made me someone who not really very open to just blurting out certain things emotionally. Really evaluating and being cautious of who it is that I might be expressing this to, as well as what I'm saying, what I'm exposing myself to or about. But as far as seeing myself, I think that I definitely stand my ground emotionally. I have emotional boundaries. And just, I know who I am. And because I know ways in which I have reacted, as well as ways that I may react, depending upon the circumstance or the situation, I basically have a cheat sheet to myself. And it's on me on what choice I decide to make when I'm emotionally impacted by something. So next discussion question is, what can you do to strengthen your emotional independence? Well, again, using that cheat sheet, self-reflection, shadow work, knowing who you are, being who you are unapologetically, and making sure that you are taking full responsibility for not only the way that you feel, but how you react based upon these feelings when they come about. And then the fourth and last discussion prompt that I have here is, what are the cons of emotional independence? So I put a little note beside this that says, everything requires healthy moderation to avoid resulting in a negative outcome from overindulgence or execution. So basically, in the prompt of what are the cons of emotional independence? Well, it could be a thin line between emotional independence and what can be viewed as arrogance or closed off, because not everyone is used to someone who may be emotionally independent. It can seem very cold, or as if this individual might not care because they're not reacting in a way that is emotionally reactive, Instead, they might have a cool, calm, kind of go with the flow thing, and it might be a situation where you're used to someone kind of going off and really, blaring out how they feel about something, or avoidance, or just, acting a certain way. And when you meet someone who does not respond in that same manner, you could be a little shooketh, if you're not used to that. And it could seem like this person is closed off or disregarding or avoiding in some way, when honestly they just know who they are. And it's like, okay, I realize you feel how you feel. I'm not being rude about it. I just, however, have no choice but to accept how you feel. So me being rude about it or going off or, etc., it doesn't change how you feel or how you might respond or feel like something has made you respond to. I'm all tongue-tied, y'all. Next. So the next prompt is emotional independence does not mean not showing empathy or consideration for how others feel. You can be emotionally independent and still have consideration for how someone feels. It's just in acknowledging that regardless of how I feel about it doesn't necessarily change how you feel about it. So I'm going to hold true to my emotions about it while I also allow you to have your dignity and respect for your ability and right to feel some type of way about it that might not be similar to my own, and that's okay. Just accepting that. Emotional independence does not mean avoiding your own emotions when experiencing stressors or triggers. So it don't mean you got to turn into a concrete ball or a rock and just not feel anything. That's not what emotional independence is. It doesn't mean dismissing your emotions or feelings altogether. No, again, it's acknowledging them, but not getting drawn or sucked into them where they begin to manipulate how you go about things moving forward. Emotional independence does not mean not seeking support of others when experiencing hardships or sadness. You can still, be emotionally independent and seek the support of others. Still, seek guidance and information from others. It's just, again, about making sure that you acknowledge this is how I feel. I know this is how I could react, but I also have other options of how to react, and choosing what is the most appropriate by your perspective or opinion when it comes to how you should respond emotionally to something or someone. And then lastly, emotional independence does not mean keeping your thoughts and opinions to yourself when confronted. So just remembering that assertiveness is still a go. Remain assertive. Remain open about how your stand or your view of something is, but also considering the fact that someone else might feel differently than me, and again, that's okay. All right, so next thing is, what does it mean to be emotionally unavailable? Emotionally unavailable refers to someone who struggles to express or handle emotions, connect emotionally with others, and may come across as distant or unresponsive to emotional cues. So some examples that I have here of emotionally unavailable is difficulty sharing emotions and being receptive to the emotions of others around them. So it might be hard for someone who's emotionally unavailable to express this emotion or even admit to an emotion. And perhaps maybe they don't even know how they feel sometimes to even verbally express that. And that can, at times, result in situations where, because they don't know how to express it verbally, it might come out in behavioral patterns. So you'll get things like what we might see as tantrums or crash outs, because that person doesn't know how to talk about their feelings, so it comes out in actions. Some other examples of being emotionally unavailable is difficulty forming and maintaining emotionally close relationships. Again, because someone who seems emotionally closed off might not seem welcoming. They might not seem like they are someone who has great bedside manner or someone you would want to open up to or connect with. They seem very reserved and cold, maybe even arrogant. Third example I have here is fearful of vulnerability. Yeah, an emotionally unavailable person is not about to make themselves vulnerable with anything. As far as they're concerned, they have a shield, private fence, and electrical wrapping around their whole aura so that you can stay out, because seeing how they feel or even being able to get a glimpse of what it is that they may be going through is frightful. It's scary. Will they ever tell you that? No. And to avoid having to express why or even express how they feel, what they're going to do? Shut down, separate themselves, maybe even go MIA for a while. You might not hear from this person. So it can definitely get in the way of forming close relationships with individuals, especially once a problem or a conflict arises where someone may feel hurt and that's being expressed, and that emotionally unavailable person is not going to be as receptive to it. Doesn't mean that they don't care. They just might not know how to absorb that because they don't know how to give it back. Another example would be being distant, avoidance of conflict, which we just talked about. The next thing is unwilling to share personal feelings. Yeah, of course, because that would make someone vulnerable. That would give you some type of glimpse or insight into what it is that I could be going through or what I could be experiencing internally. Well, for some people, they're afraid that might give somebody ammo. There's a lot of reasons of why individuals may be emotionally unavailable, how they've even become to have this type of, I would say, personality when it comes to being emotionally closed off, not feeling safe and secure to expose or be vulnerable of how they feel in the presence of others, or having others know that information about them. And then the last example I have here is avoiding discussions that require emotional expression and receptiveness, which we already went through. So some discussions that I have here regarding emotionally unavailable people is: 1, emotionally unavailability can significantly impact relationships and social connections. It can lead to feelings of loneliness, isolation, and dissatisfaction, which is something that I talked about. If you're in a relationship or if you're in some type of partnership or connection with someone who's emotionally unavailable, because you can't go to that person, especially if, like, let's say this is a husband or a wife and you're in some type of marital union or even some type of close long-term romantic relationship, and you go through something and you want to lean on your partner, but you just happen to have a partner who is emotionally unavailable. Well, they might not be, that great point of contact when you go through something. And that can make the individual who's going through something feel like this person does not care, or that they're not even considerate of how they feel. And it can cause problems in paradise. The next thing here is how do you deal with someone who is emotionally unavailable? So what I have jotted down here is just basically acknowledge the situation, but don't blame yourself or try to fix the emotionally unavailable person. Encourage open communication by creating a safe environment that doesn't pass judgment. Because again, individuals that are emotionally unavailable, they don't want to give any ammo. So if they feel like something they say is going to be thrown back in their face, then, it would definitely put them in a situation where they feel backed into a corner and would make them shut down even more. Probably even harder. I mean, tighter than the shell of a tortoise, which they can close that down pretty tight. Establish healthy boundaries for yourself to reduce the risk of being emotionally hurt by an emotionally unavailable person. So again, having emotional boundaries for yourself, just knowing, that person, using your cheat sheet when it comes to knowing the other individual who is someone that you identify as being emotionally unavailable. Because if you know this about me, but you continue to rock with me, but then you still try to bring something to me and then get upset at me when you already know that I can't handle that, or I'm someone who does not handle that in a manner that you would prefer, then you got to kind of take some self-accountability on that one, some personal responsibility, and be like, look, I knew that person wasn't going to be the number one person I should have went to. Maybe that was the only person available at the time, but at the same time, it's not to blame that other individual. It's about acknowledging who they are and acting accordingly. This just is not the person to pour your heart out to. Then I also have here focusing on your self-care by prioritizing your own emotional well-being. So not allowing the individual who is emotionally unavailable, not allowing that deficit to become something that navigates how you now feel, disrupting how you now feel. So just being able to self-regulate your own emotion. So some recommendations. So if you are someone who would describe themselves as being emotionally unavailable, some recommendations would be self-reflection or shadow work. It can help to identify factors of origin that has conditioned the lack of emotional responsiveness. It can result from factors including past trauma, learned behavior, lack of understanding one's own emotions, and even limited experiences with practicing emotional expression. Community supports like social groups, therapy, life coach services, and mentoring programs can help to address emotional unavailability and encourage a healthier balance of emotional competence and expression. So basically, if this is something that you don't want to, continue because it's so much disruption in your life, or you want to get closer to people, but you might have a fear or some type of anxiety that makes you do that, so you've decided or chosen to be emotionally, closed off, there are options out there if you want to fix that. There are resources that would be willing to work with you. Again, like I advised earlier, your partner or the other individual who's not emotionally unavailable, it's not their job to fix that, and they shouldn't be trying to fix that. If you see this as problematic, and this is something that you want to change, it is your responsibility to fix it, because no one is coming to save you. I'm going to stress this in almost every video. No one is coming to save you. If it is problematic in your life and it is not something that promotes growth or personal enhancement and you want to change it, you have to take the steps. A dream does not become reality if it only stays up here. You have to transfer it outward and then work toward making it something that is a physical being. Okay? Let's see what else we got here. So also for the person who is or describes himself as being emotionally unavailable, if left unaddressed, if this continues to be left unaddressed, it can reflect a form of self-sabotage that may increase internal warfare with pre-existing emotional conflict stirring within, but has yet to be released. So it's only going to build more emotional disruption inside of yourself because you're not letting it out. I mean, it's kind of like putting a bunch of air into a balloon and then not expecting the balloon to pop when you keep adding more and more and more to it. Well, things get stretched but so thin. And then before you know it, pop or boom when it comes to an internal ticking bomb. But it's a self-inflicted thing. So again, if it's something that you don't want to become a continuum, change it. You have that power to do that. Change it. Manifesting realities one change at a time. All right. So the next recommendation is for individuals who's dealing with an emotionally unavailable person. So if you are someone who is currently in some type of interaction or association with someone who is emotionally unavailable, remain assertive and open up about the impact this person's emotional deficit is having on you. So talk about it. Communication. You don't got to get emotional about it. Point out the facts. Identify the conflict. If that person really considers how you feel, whether they can show it emotionally or not, their behaviors will show it. How they act will show it. Their emotions might not show it, but their behaviors definitely will. However, don't attempt to micromanage or to fix this person's state of being. Rather, make a conscious decision of how to interact with this individual without risking your own emotional well-being. So using your cheat sheet and acting accordingly. You know this person. You know they're emotionally unavailable. You've said it, probably out loud and to multiple people. So you got a cheat sheet. Act accordingly. And then stay connected to your natural support systems and set healthy emotional boundaries to reduce the risk of conflict or negative emotional transference from them to you. Because that can happen, emotional transference. It definitely can happen. Their lack of emotion now makes you feel superbly emotional. That really, it's like, come on now. No, you're giving away too much power. This person is emotionally unavailable. Don't set yourself up for it. That can be a form of emotional self-sabotage. Don't inflict yourself to that type of pain. Know this individual. Know how their attributes are, and act accordingly to it. All right, let's see where I'm at. Okay, and next thing says, do not risk self-sabotage. Yes, just said that before I even read my prompt. If emotional boundaries becoming a recurrent violation, then it may be best to leave well enough alone. Remaining in a state of direct disregard or disrespect is never a healthy course of action. So with this one, when I wrote this, the one thing that came to mind is unconditional love does not mean unconditional tolerance. And that is so true. I know it's been said on various, channels that I've seen. I've seen various posts about it on multiple social media sites, but it's the truth. Unconditional love does not mean unconditional tolerance. Just because I love you doesn't mean I'm going to put up with everything that you throw my way. No, I have standards, I have boundaries, and I am going to enforce them. If I don't like that you continuously violate these things, then I'm going to go on about my business because I've tried. And you just have to leave it alone. Leave well enough alone. Don't mean you don't care about that person. Don't mean you don't love them. Don't mean you don't wish the best for them. It just means maybe I'm not for you. And that's okay. It is okay with saying, and that's okay. It is. It is. I promise you, it's okay. It might hurt. It might sting. It might make you feel sad. It might make you feel livid. But it's okay. It's fine. We are responsible on how we react when it comes to these things that emotionally impact us. All right, y'all. Well, that's it for this video. I hope that you maybe learned something new, or maybe it was a good review of some things that you already knew regarding emotional independence and emotional unavailable individuals. I hope that this information can help you regarding fostering your connections and relationships with other people. And if you are someone who is struggling with this and want to continue working on emotional independence, or want to continue to, or even start addressing emotional unavailability, I am your virtual life coach, and I am taking appointments. All of that will be down in the description of the video. And I look forward to working with you guys. And like always, let's get to work. No one's coming to save you, but I'm willing to help you along your journey. Let's start somewhere. All right. Bye, y'all.